Hi there. Well, my wife and I have been Amway business owners for over 30 years, and we thought we'd blog occasionally about some of the experiences we've had with Amway over that time, because sometimes we hear negative things said about the company and our business, much of which is completely erroneous, some downright scurrilous. And this saddens us because Amway is so very close to our hearts. Now, the decision to do this blog and podcast was triggered when a customer came to our house to pick up some products, and I started to talk to him about the exciting developments in e-commerce and major worldwide trends of which Amway business owners are uniquely positioned to take advantage, and he replied, no thank you, I know all about the Amway business. And I was reminded of something Albert Einstein had said: anybody can know. The point is to understand. Now, Amway Global have been pioneers of the concept of compassionate capitalism for over 60 years. Therefore, through this blog, we can hopefully share some of our personal experiences, correct some misconceptions, and maybe offer some insights into the Amway business opportunity and its profundities that are not immediately apparent at first sight. There's more to an Amway business than meets the eye. It's been quite a journey, and my wife and I have enjoyed taking the road less travelled. Well, hi there again. We're going to call this episode Amway, Compassionate Capitalism and Due Diligence. But as you know, we like to start off with a quote from Rich DeVos, Amway co-founder, and I'm going to read something he said. He said this: private ownership is basic to freedom. Take it away and the economy is doomed to failure. Deny people the freedom to be what they want to be and to do what they want to do, and an economy will collapse. It is useless to talk about economic freedom as separate from political or social freedom. The freedom to work at whatever you want to goes hand in hand with freedom of every kind. Well, that's Rich. Anyway, when we were invited to look at the Amway opportunity over 30 years ago, we were very fortunate that there was no internet, and we were able to do our proper due diligence, namely thoroughly checking out the company before making any commitment. That meant checking the company's mode of behaviour. Is it legal, ethical, moral? What is its track record, and are there any court cases it might have been involved in? We had to look at its current situation and potential for the long-term future. It's more than just looking at the bottom line and whether a company is certainly currently profitable. Therefore, we were able to talk to successful ABOs, attend functions, read some books, ask lots of questions, and in my case, go to libraries to ascertain Amway's financial status. Actually, I came back to the UK and I went to the National Library of Statistics, which used to be in Holborn, but it doesn't seem to be there now. Accordingly, we were able to make an informed decision based upon the facts. And at that time, we were not aware of the concept of compassionate capitalism. We just wanted to make some extra money. But today, unfortunately, what do people do? They turn to Google and social media. Google is not due diligence. Social media is a cowboy world where anybody can say anything they like without accountability and responsibility, and regardless of their agenda. Of course, there's a lot of excellent and accurate information about Amway online, but also some totally inaccurate and even scurrilous observations. But that is the world we live in. It's often just the tall poppy syndrome, where trolls, for reasons best known to themselves, will try to pull down someone when they're successful, when they're at the top of the game or in the public eye. It can be an easy way to make money. If you can choose a controversial topic or something like Amway, which is not controversial but often misunderstood, and get enough followers on your blog, podcast or YouTube channel, then companies will use your channel to advertise themselves, and you can make a lot of money. But it's an unethical way of making money by attacking ethical companies or decent people. And there are quite a few unscrupulous broadcasters out there professing to be financial gurus doing just that, regardless of how many innocent people they hurt or livelihoods they damage on the way. However, when the ethical nature and relevance of capitalism itself is, like most of our institutions, being called into question, the concept of compassionate capitalism is more important as a solution to many of our commercial and social ills than ever. So how should we do our due diligence today? Of course, ask a lot of questions, attend all the webinars and functions you are invited to, stick to authoritative materials that give an accurate and full picture. Speak to successful ABOs. We are also a great fan of YouTube, where there are so many fine speeches from successful ABOs, some of whom have been in the business for 6 decades, some just a few years. But they say, leaders are readers. And we'd like to talk about some important books that helped us along the way, and which we strongly recommend the prospective and existing ABO read, so he or she can get a firm grounding in the origins of the Amway business opportunity and the thought processes of its co-founders Rich DeVos and VanAndel. Some of the books are out of print but can still be obtained on Amazon if we haven't purchased the last one. And the first book that we were introduced to was Rich DeVos's book Believe, written in 1975, 10 years before we ourselves signed up. Yeah. Now this book has inspired 3 generations of ABOs and non-ABOs, convincing them that you can, and outlines Rich's belief that free enterprise is the best engine for growth and for people to be able to improve their lives, and that nobody is just anything. Everyone is unique, deserving of respect, and has untapped potential. It's the source of one of Rich's most famous quotes. The only thing that stands between a man and what he wants from life is often merely the will to try it and the faith to believe it is possible. This book, Believe, was actually co-authored with a chap called Charles Paul Conn. Now, his is an interesting story. Charles Paul Conn was a journalist who set out to dig up some dirt on Amway, of whom he had a negative impression. He went to the headquarters in Ada, and Rich and Jay welcomed him to the facilities, gave him a completely free hand to walk around, talk to the employees, ask any questions he wanted. So he was so impressed at what he'd seen and heard that he completely changed his tune and ended up being a regular guest speaker at Amway functions, even co-authoring this book, Believe. He then started to write his own positive books about Amway. Promises to Keep, for example, An Uncommon Freedom, The Possible Dream. This is actually in Japanese. You won't be able to read that probably, but this is a Japanese version of The Possible Dream. The Winner's Circle, and The Dream That Will Not Die. Perhaps the 2 most important books new ABOs and those still thinking about whether to become an ABO, that's Amway business owners, should read are Compassionate Capitalism, Helping People Help Themselves, which Rich wrote in 1993, 34 years after Amway's founding, and Simply Rich, which he wrote towards the end of his life, several years after he had his miraculous heart transplant. Here actually is a Compassionate Capitalism in Japanese. And both my wife and I view Compassionate Capitalism as our Amway and business Bible, a clear and honest appraisal of Rich's life and his beliefs. For Rich, free enterprise based upon compassion, namely operating in good faith with each other, being able to take everyone's word at face value, combined with the right for individuals to go into business for themselves and keep the profits of their endeavours, is one of the most important driving forces of human progress. He and his partner, VanAndel, set up Amway so that anybody, regardless of their race, religion, creed, financial or educational background or physical capabilities, could go into business for themselves and build a small, medium or large business without risk. And if they maximized the potential of their Amway opportunity, that business would become a legacy for their children, and in Rich's own words, last forever and ever. Compassionate Capitalism is a wonderful book and contains many examples of compassionate people and actions over the centuries, not just from the Amway environment, but from outside the Amway world too. The book clearly illustrates how erudite, well-read and thoughtful Rich DeVos was. It contains hundreds of phrases we could quote. You'll have to read it yourself, but here we will satisfy ourselves with just one, and this is Nako's favourite. It is your dream that takes you to their door, but once you're over the threshold, it's their dream that takes over. That is one way of expressing Rich and Jay's often mentioned principle, fundamental to Amway's success. You first, me second. Perhaps that is one reason people sometimes quit. They just have to give too much of themselves. Well, the second major book of Rich's, which we strongly recommend, is Simply Rich, where he takes us through his life and experiences, but has a chapter towards the end that truly shows his and his partner Jay's true wisdom. It's incredible. They were so much more than just successful businessmen, and it's understanding these aspects of Rich and Jay's philosophies of life that are so important to understanding why ABOs are so passionate about the Amway opportunity. For example, Rich formed the DeVos Family Council to bring together family members on a regular basis 4 times a year to meet and decide on family matters. It even has its own constitution to ensure the family's mission and values regarding their economic and philanthropic activities are passed on to future generations. Inheriting the Amway business, Rich says, is a sacred trust for our family. Another annual family assembly that he set up involves 3 generations. A grandchild has to be 16 years old before he or she can attend. At 25, they can vote. If any of the children or grandchildren wish to work at Amway, they need to have a 4-year college degree and to have worked for another company outside the industry for several years first. So although we talk about the 2 families and it being a family business, this is a far cry from the conventional concept of nepotism that afflicts regular families and companies where the first generation builds a business and subsequent generations fritter it away. It's all in here. There are many lessons here that we could all learn. And this is an incredible testimony to Rich and Jay's combined wisdom and foresight, and clear evidence of not only just how intertwined ABO and the family's interests are, but also that everything is in place for our respective businesses to pass on down through the generations. Well, what book next? Another highly successful and motivating book of Rich's is 10 Powerful Phrases for Positive People. Essential reading for anyone inside or outside our business who thinks a mindset considerate of others and a positive mental attitude are important to success. The phrases: I'm wrong, I'm sorry, I hate that one, you can do it, I believe in you, I'm proud of you, thank you, I need you, I trust you, I respect you, I love you. And there's a chapter on each of those. Wow. There are some tough ones there to live up to. You may think that these books are self-promoting, but not at all. Rich's inherent humility shines through them all. And here's another book about Rich. How to Be Like Rich, written by a chap called Pat Williams. Now, Pat Williams is the father of 19 children, but actually 14 of them have been adopted from 4 other countries, so they're not all his own. But he's the author of 30 books, including How to Be Like Walt. Now, that's Walt Disney. How to Be Like Mike. Now, that's Michael Jordan. How to Be Like Jackie. That's Jackie Robinson. So he also wrote How to Be Like Rich DeVos. Walt Disney, Michael Jordan, Jackie Robinson, Rich DeVos. How about that? That is the pantheon of respected leaders and achievers with whom Rich DeVos is associated by those who know. The co-founder of our company, but you won't see much of that on the internet. There's so much more, but you'll have to read these books yourselves. And just a couple more. We mustn't leave out co-founder VanAndel. His biography and enterprising life is a fascinating look at the adventures, hardships, faith and determination that characterized his partnership with Rich. We wonder how many companies and their founders have had so many books written about them and in so many languages. Not many. Maybe Warren Buffett and Richard Branson spring to mind. There's one book you're unlikely to know about, but it's called The Quickstar Revolution. Now, Quickstar is the name Amway originally intended to go online with in 1999. They later found that it wasn't achieving the name recognition hoped for, but that the Amway name was well known and there was an overwhelmingly positive reaction to it. So after a couple of years, they reverted to the Amway name, now calling the company Amway Global. The Quick Start revolution is an analysis of the internet and quick starts, that means Amway's, role in it. And on page 84, the author writes this. In less than 1 year, a team of tech wizards orchestrated one of the most magnificent accomplishments ever achieved in the new digital age. September the 1st, 1999, the day that Quickstar, that means Amway, opened its virtual doors to the world, will go down as one of the most significant dates in web history. How about that? The tech wizards were from several companies and comprised 150 programmers led by teams from both IBM and Microsoft. And at the same time, this was described as the biggest, most impressive site that has ever hit the internet. 20,000 pages of content and climbing. That was in 1999. Now we're going to repeat that phrase. September the 1st, 1999, the day that Quickstar Amway opened its virtual doors to the world, will go down as one of the most significant dates in web history. Not everybody knows that about Amway. A classic example of Albert Einstein's observation, anybody can know. The point is to understand. One book you won't be reading, unless you're Japanese, is published by the Marketing Research Department of Waseda University, one of the top 2 universities in Japan, the other one being Tokyo University. And here they investigated companies that had perfected the science of what they called one-to-one marketing, namely excelling at the personalization of the customer experience. The 4 companies they chose were Amazon, Dell, Toyota, and Amway. Another pantheon to which Amway belongs. Not a lot of people know that. So the point of this blog? To ensure that you do your due diligence. And if you say no, you at least have an idea of what you're not saying no to. Google is not due diligence. We strongly recommend you make an informed decision by associating with people who know what they're talking about, not by reading something written by a total stranger on social media, a virtual toilet wall. But hey, here's the very best way to do your due diligence. Go to the headquarters in Ada itself, known as the Miracle Mile, and visit the Nutrilite farms at the same time, like we did 30 years ago. You'll be welcomed, shown around, and able to ask any questions you may have to scientists and experts, just like Charles Paul Conn did 40 or so years ago. Our final observation about Amway and due diligence is to look at the legacy the co-founders left for us. Rich DeVos asked a new Amway manager how he would describe the business we're in. The manager came up with a textbook explanation of direct selling. Rich smiled, put a hand on his shoulder and said, "Young man, we are in the business of helping people. Nothing more and nothing less." And Rich and Jay believed the best place to start was in their local communities, believing communities benefit from a sense of ownership by its citizens. If someone is proud of their city and wants to see it prosper, they're incentivized to contribute and make positive changes to their local environment. There can be few greater examples of practicing what you preach than the legacy Rich and Jay have left with regards to their hometown, Grand Rapids. In the 70s, it was a city in dire need of revitalization. The DeVos families and VanAndel families were instrumental in both financial and organizational terms for the outstanding DeVos Symphony Hall, restoring the seedy and dilapidated downtown pant-lined hotel to its former glory, renaming it the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel. Opened by former US President Ford and now augmented with the soaring, beautiful glass tower. We will never forget our stay there. The gold leaf on the lobby ceiling, the thick carpets, the rich fabrics, the beautiful furniture, and spotless cleanliness. Truly a 5-star operation. New downtown buildings, the result of Rich and Jay's initiatives and philanthropic efforts, now include the 12,000-seat VanAndel Arena, a public museum, a campus for the Grand Valley State University, a convention centre, a J.W. Marriott Hotel, and most impressive of all, the Medical Mile. Here you will find the VanAndel Institute conducting cutting-edge research into cancer and Parkinson's disease. Next door is the Mayer Heart Centre, a leader in heart and vascular care, open heart surgery and transplants, and which attracts world-leading heart specialists from all over the world. Further down the road are the state-of-the-art Lemon Holton Cancer Pavilion and the renowned Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, just further down the road. Now, I'd like to talk about this hospital, the Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, just a little bit. Here, there are special rooms so that the parents of a child can be there when their child is going for an operation and also be there when they wake up. And here I'm going to read you something from the hospital's website. The impossible happens here. When your child has a serious health issue, it becomes the center of your world. You want to know your child is getting focused attention and the latest in treatments and support. At Helen DeVos Children's Hospital, we fight for every child. With 350 plus pediatric specialists and subspecialists, 10 years of United States News and Report national rankings and innovations that draw patients from all over the world, we're driven to replace fear with hope and doubt with answers. We believe in the possibility of every child's future because it is only impossible until it isn't. That sounds a lot like Richard J's and Amway's philosophy, replacing fear with hope and doubt with answers. Impossible was never in Richard J's vocabulary. This is a truly stunning legacy, and hopefully viewers can start to see why we're so proud of our association with Amway and why Amway business owners are so committed to adding their own legacies to those of Richard J. But we haven't finished with the Miracle Mile yet. There is also the Cook DeVos Medical Building and the Setchier Center, part of the School of Human Medicine of Michigan State University. There's a lot more to Richard J's legacy, both in the United States and around the world, than the Amway business opportunity. But I hope those who know our name but little more will understand more what it means to be an Amway business owner and follower and promoter of our own particular form of compassionate capitalism. No, the very best way of conducting your own due diligence is to go to Ada yourself and see the Miracle Mile of research, development and manufacturing facilities. Go to Grand Rapids, walk round the Medical Mile, go to the Nutrilite farms where the soils are in better condition than when we started, and see for yourself. Tens of thousands of ABOs from all over the world visit the R&D facilities and farms every year. You'll be shown around, can ask all the questions you want and be treated like a VIP. And why not stay at the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel too? But beware, if you do go to the Miracle Mile and the Medical Mile and a little bit away, further away, but the farms as well for yourself, you may be hooked for life. We're going to leave you with Rich's legendary words. You can do it. Love you. And we look forward to seeing you guys on the beaches of the world. See you next time.